Alford windmill is a fine example of a working and wonderfully preserved five-sailed tower mill. It was built by local millwright Mr. Oxley in the early 19th century. In the early 20th century, it was purchased by Harry Hoyles and is still known today as Hoyles Mill. We spoke to Alford-based millwright Tom Davies to learn about the history of the mill.
Lloyd Hoyles was a very good friend of my father's, and he used to tell me about the night that he saved Alford Mill from burning down. Evidently the story went that one stormy night Lloyd was a baby in the house. For some reason he woke up crying and that and awoke his parents. We then got up to see what he was crying about. And somebody looked out of the bedroom window and saw the mill going round very fast in the storm, and also that flames were coming out of the bearing and showing through the window. So I imagine that it had been all hands on deck and panic stations to get into the mill, find out what the extent of the trouble was, because until they actually got up onto the mill floor they wouldn't know how bad things were. And then, as I say, all hands on deck to put the fire out and save the mill, and also to stop the mill as well, so the problem didn't get worse. And then, as a result of that, Thompsons were asked to go down to the mill to investigate why it happened and what had happened. And they found out that when they lifted the upright shaft, the oilway had worn out of the bearing, so lubrication wasn't getting to the toe of the bearing, causing the brass to overheat in the bearing. Thus the oil and grease around the bearing caught fire. It would spread along the top of the beams and underneath the floor, because everything would be dry, and that caught fire. But luckily they got there in time and got it put out without too much damage. So in the end Lloyd did actually save Alford windmill. Mr. Hoyles from Alford Mill, obviously they had a bakehouse they did bread round, and my mother's mother in Alford, my grandmother, they lived down Caroline Street, and they had the local coal merchants. And evidently, this was what I was told by my grandmother, Mr. Hoyles used to come round with his bread and everywhere, and then he used to call once a week, once a fortnight, to collect his money. And on this one occasion it came to so many shillings and a halfpenny or something for this, and my grandmother said to Mr. Hoyles, "Oh well, I'll pay you the round shillings and I'll give you the halfpenny with the money next week." And he had a 10-shilling note, whatever. He said, "Oh no, I'll change it for the sake of the halfpenny." He wouldn't let it, so from then on she always called him Halfpenny Harry. I don't know whether anybody else did, but that was my grandmother's name for him. Because millers and in that sort of business were never known for their generosity. So.
Whilst we were filming, restoration work was ongoing at the mill. This was commissioned by the owners, Lincolnshire County Council, and undertaken by Tom Davies.
At Alford Mill we are replacing all 5 sails, renewing the weather beam across the front, which carries the weight of the sails, and repairing one of the shear ends, which is a main structural timber at the front of the mill. We are refurbishing the striking gear and the shades, as we call them, the shutters that are actually in the sails themselves. Well, these are made of a wooden back, as we call it, with a casting on either end, with a metal wire round, and canvas is then hand sewn, stretched and tacked onto them to complete the shade or shutter. And as you can see from some of these old ones, they have been previously repaired, where extra canvas has been stitched over them, but they're now getting to the stage where they want more repairs on, and as you can see, the mild steel has blown with the rust, split the canvas, and some of them are getting to the stage of needing total replacement. So we've got on with those. We use the patterns that we used when they built the mill, had new castings made, and we've made the new shades in exactly the same way as the old ones were, with the canvas hand stitched on and tacked on the back.
The old sails, each one weighing a ton, are carefully removed. For reasons of balance, the first 4 sails are lifted out of position and the final one lowered. The new sails are constructed on the ground, and when complete, the first 4 are lowered into position from above, and the final sail is raised in from below. Tom told us about the history of millwrights in Alford.
Well, my father started working for Thompson's in September 1945. At the end of the war, army disbanded and wanted a job, so he went to the Labour Exchange in Alford, as it was then, and just said, "I want a job, any job." They told him that the only one going was to help the millwrights in Alford with the windmills. He hadn't got a clue what it was, but he said, "I'll go and have an interview." Got the job, and that's how he started with his work in windmills. And then 1974, the last of the Thompsons died. That was Jack Thompson, who my father had come to work for. He had no children, and my father had been doing the work for 29 years then, so decided, well, carry on. So he took the business over, and then in 1978 I got fed up and disgruntled with what I was doing, and came to see my dad and said, "Is there a job going?" And he said, "Yes, give it a go." So 1st of August 1978 I came to work with my father, and still here. And I worked with my dad up until he died in October 2002. So I've been doing it 33 years now and still carrying on. Well, when I first came to work with my dad, I'd been doing mainly an office job. So some of the physical aspects of the work to start with were fairly tiring for me. So my dad told me that, well, the 2 main qualifications of being a millwright, you got to be strong in the arm and weak in the head. So, and another one of the things you obviously got to do is have a good head for heights, because some of the jobs I used to do with my dad before the time of, safety harnesses and all this sort of thing, you'd be working with both hands doing something, and Dad would say, "Well, hang on with your eyelashes," and that's what we used to have to do on sometimes. But we were always safe and self-preservation, didn't take any stupid risks, and still here to tell the tale. So we think that Mr. Thompson actually had this workshop built along with the house opposite, but there were millwrights here before that. Sam Oxley, who built the five-sail mill in Alford, they were here. Then there was a millwright called Wheatcroft. He fell out of a cradle at, I think it was either Barrow-on-Humber or Barton-on-Humber mill. So the business was put up for sale, and Robert Thompson had done his apprenticeship as a millwright in Hull. And because he wanted to set up on his own as a millwright, he had to move a certain distance away from his former employers, so he bought the existing millwright's business in Alford. And then subsequently his two sons came to work for him. I think Robert Thompson died somewhere around late 1920s, 1930, something like that. The ledgers go back till 1877. They are Robert Thompson's ledgers. So we've got a complete record. There's two sets of ledgers, one with the time in and the other one with materials and the accounts in. So if anybody wants to know any history of mills around here or anything, we can go back to 1877. And we have settled a few arguments about what was done at what mill at a certain time. We can look back and verify yes or no.
There is still a strong connection to the mill's history through Tom Davies. Without his and his family's care and attention, it is unlikely that this six-storied, five-sailed mill would have survived until today.